show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, we're back again, 48 hours after that marathon on Tuesday. I take it you've all listened a few times to that already. You may need a few more. Well, this is a more simpler show, but no less hard-hitting in some ways. And it's more about what we're doing. Also, what it's about is what we're not doing in some cases, and that will be revealed in the end piece. Anyway, this is episode 5 of the Blueprint Show. We are the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Enjoy the show. That piece is called The Seeds of Immortality, and that opening piece was another that was written, composed and played by one of our own members. And the talent in this group is really coming to the fore now, and it's great to see and also feel. And the important thing is to keep going and keep coming together. United we stand, divided we fell. And will continue falling unless people put all differences aside and work for the greater good, not personalities. More on that later. So what of our sterling members who have been overworked, perhaps sometimes underappreciated? What have they been up to over the past 2 weeks? Well, we're going to start off with the book team. And the Romanian translation of the blueprint has been sent to the web team for inclusion on the blueprint website. Now, the discrepancy in the French translation has been narrowed to the online translator app of the website and does not affect the downloadable PDF. Now, the web team has been alerted and is exploring means to improve all the online translations. Now, the other translations and book teamwork are ongoing. The Bulgarian PDF and ebooks are now available on the website to upload, and the paperback version is published on lulu.com. Good stuff. The research team. The Blueprint research team had a lively meeting with a 10-topic agenda to cover, and they discussed the THI member enthusiasm with sending the book PDF Blueprint around the world and whether to try to track such efforts for reporting the growth outreach. An Australian member has already sent it to US states and 190 countries, and they revisited the request for a new response for an email address. Now, it appears that it may have been the cart before the horse, as a response support system needs to be in place first before we can proceed with that. And currently there's only one person handling all the contact via the website. Now, it is advisable to find expert volunteers in each of the solution categories to receive forwarded emails from the website email handler and to share the load, as the incoming flood will begin very soon. Now, we discussed the option of adding a title in the Saying Hi drop-down menu for the research team of general feedback, which would link to the established email address. Now, regarding the email letter template, the team voted unanimously to use the text on the back of the blueprint book as the main body portion of the suggested standardised letter template, and that is for use by all THI members when sending the book or emailing the PDF version of the book. Now, the letter will include a reply link to the website contact form, and they're going to vote next week on the final full letter text. Now, the Word document has been posted on MeWe for members to give feedback before they vote and before they submit it for authorization to the THI admin team. Now, the team decided to suggest to the admin team that France and the UK would be the first two countries to focus on, and they are awaiting their approval before proceeding. Now, ninth on the agenda was an update of the influencer database, which is fairly comprehensive. There's well over 800 names, as I understand, and maybe more. And the design improvements had a final review, and the database is ready to receive the research team members' final missing information for each influencer in their 2-month THI show sets. Now, once that is completed, the team wants to move forward from research to active distribution. Lastly, in new business was the curious coincidence of Benjamin Fulford having been sent our blueprint in July, and on August the 14th he posted a letter on his website entitled The White Dragon Plan for the Planet. And he stated the main obstacle to replacing the current dystopian regime ruling the West is now the question of what alternative is going to replace it. And the question they posed is, did our book plant a seed? We hope so. Indeed it has, and far wider than people realise. That's the internal effect. The external effect will follow. Media team, we now have the Instagram accounts opened and have begun to operate them. The profile names of the Instagram accounts are Blueprint for Humanity 111, THI Show 111. But the focus will be on the Blueprint account. Now, Instagram offers a blue badge like the blue tick on the other sites, and they may investigate this in the future to see if it is of any benefit to us for the Blueprint profile. Twitter, Blueprint. Finally, the blue tick, which bumps our posts up a lot more from what I'm led to believe, has now showed up on the account properly on Twitter, and they say they have no idea what the delay was. Really. We all know why the delay was, and the fact it is now on display is all that matters, indeed. It helped already, as we were the top comment on an account that we replied to this week, which means we would have been seen by anyone replying to that influencer. And as we received some photographs from members with their copy of the Blueprint book, we have made a video to highlight how different people in different countries are already getting behind the Blueprint. And adding the personal touch might garner more interaction with people. And this video is now on the main page for everyone to view and also comment on, the main page of MeWe. Now, we continue to monitor and change things up a bit as we go, but overall we are happy with the progress. Now, they also stated we will not be opening any more social media platforms, as all the main ones are now covered, thankfully. And we may look into adding a streaming platform in the future, for example, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or Odyssey, as there is no additional cost for the RSS feed that hosts on Spreaker, and so we can stream on the other platforms at the same time. Now, unbeknown to me, because I'm not that technically knowledgeable on those type of things anyway, is the last website team added Odyssey and a few others into the RSS feed from Spreaker. And they also set up an Odyssey page, and all the shows since October have been loaded onto that site, and it just needs someone to operate it and promote it, and preferably not from the overloaded volunteers already in our groups, as they need others to step up and support them. And I want to say thanks to you, all of you that continue to spread the word and share the content. It is greatly appreciated. The youth website. The youth team is assisting with editing and finalising the parents and teachers guide. The mission statement for You Think Different space is underway by members, which will go on the website to make clear on our intentions and goals for that space. The You Think Different anthem, written by a THI member, is almost ready as well. The lyrics are finished and the recording process in the studio has begun. Good stuff. And once the song is finalised, work can begin on a music video clip to go with the song. Now, one of our aims for the web space is to have action groups and social connections for youth to connect with their peers who think different and also act different, who also want to be the change, to give examples and ideas for the youth to create their own action guides for the 10 most youth-relevant blueprint solutions. And we hope to encourage youth online also to tell us how they feel about global and local issues by creating memes, videos and other content to draw the youth into communicating their thoughts and feelings with us to grow their own space and future. Who or what are the youth watching and listening to now? Who are their influencers? Are they telling them the truth, the whole truth? And we as adults need to embody and seed the love and truth frequency of the blueprint. The way showers that model what it means to be a guardian, helping to support and grow the youth to be the guardians of the future. The web team update. Progress on the THI encyclopedia is continuing at pace, with 2019 shows being processed and sliced and diced as needed from a technical perspective. Now, upon completion of data preparation for all shows going back to August 2018, when the THI transcripts were officially introduced, we can then move to the next stage, which is building each archive show page with its user-friendly user interface, linking the show audio with the relevant transcript text. Now, a significant 63 gigabytes of data was uploaded to our THI server, and there are musicless THI show files, as we call them, which is a crucial element of the project. Now, their development required a technical solution, which we finally were able to figure out by putting our heads together and also asking other like-minded people for their advice. And the Organic Living Gardening website is also coming along nicely, and the milestone achieved in the last fortnight has been identifying a few hundred images with their associated credit licensing use information. And after that, plant images were assigned to all posts on the new website, which our contributors created very quickly. Now, if the web team are saying if THI members have any ideas or suggestions for improvements for our websites, or indeed if you'd like to contribute by creating digital content, which we can then present on our websites, or indeed on any of our social media platforms which the media team manage, so please let us know in the main THI chat on MeWe by tagging a video in your comments. And they say we'll consider all suggestions and do all we can to implement the ones that we really make a difference. And they say thank you in advance. Open discussion, topics and questions. We moved on to questions from the members, which included what steps we are taking next. And so far, copies of the books have been sent out to Candace Owens, Elon Musk and Douglas Rushkoff, followed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Ron DeSantis, Marjorie Greene, Lauren Boebert, Amazing Polly and Tucker Carlson. Now, all of these have received or will receive their copies in the next week. And there were some suggestions from members of who the next people might be. And the research team are preparing a campaign to directly target them, but the work takes time, but they are getting there. And working with the media team will also be factored into this step. A member asked a question in relation to the Ghanaian president, and they stated he should be on the list as he referenced THI in the African conference. And this led into a discussion on the possibility of amending it to suit the African countries. As the blueprint was written with the United States in mind, it can also be adapted out for each country. And so we can modify the original and make it suitable for each country's own blueprint solution. And at least 20 of the 29 solutions are already workable or generic for each country, and it's a matter for each country to take the blueprint and come together with people or members in their own countries and adapt it to suit their requirements. That's the whole idea. We created the blueprint initially for America, because that's the final battlefield. But as they say, around 20 of the 29 solutions are generic to each country. And then you would need people from that country who know their own country better, is to come up with changes for example, we have one solution, the US government. Well, that would be the German government or the British government or the South African government, or even the Australian, New Zealand. It doesn't matter which country. It's can you create a text to change that blueprint and make it your own country. In overview, in relation to sending out the books to these people, some may say that is a waste of time because they are part of the system. But we are appealing to the humanity side of them to trigger them. They all have that side of them. It's just hidden. How much humanity they have, that is the question. They only ignore it because of fear. Initially, there is fear, but it erodes as the frequency of the blueprint spreads. They are all aware of who we are and also what we're doing. And this is such an important thing to remember, that they have been trapped within their own constructs and fear-based programs too. Sometimes we are thinking instead of feeling. We are still operating in the programs and overlays from the past. Thinking can lead us to being more plugged into their world. Feeling is being plugged into your heart space consciousness. It is a new way of being. Feeling from this perspective rises our frequency, enables us to bring about change, not only within ourselves, but then emits that frequency to others, and in effect we are the cosmic towers. We know that the real technology lies within, and practice and holding that frequency will enable us to be our own transmitters of the blueprint. We need the doers now. We need the people to come forward and step in to and be the real change that is already taking place around the world. Fear scores 100 on the scale of consciousness. Courage is 200, and it is the step to freedom. Love scores at 500. 5 times the value of fear. In fact, you can't even equate that in real terms. And so by stepping into courage, we become the way showers. We then plant those seeds of courage in others. Whether that is by speaking about the blueprint, sharing the message on social media, or joining the groups and actively becoming part of the community. All this matters, but so does simply consciously holding the frequency of truth and courage as we go about our daily lives. They have enslaved us with their 3-letter agencies. Let us begin to wipe that out and plant our own 3 letters across the globe. Let us replace them with the THI script instead of the CAI script. Right. Doesn't that first section make you proud? If it doesn't, are you alive? This is all what we've done. This is what I've been speaking about for a few years now. All about what we do, not what they're doing. In essence, what they're doing now is irrelevant, completely irrelevant. They are irrelevant. It's about what we do. What are you going to create and what are you going to manifest? Now, we've done a few pieces now. What is life? What is future? What is value? And this piece was done a few years ago that I thought I would bring back, and it fits in rather nicely. And we ended Tuesday's epic show with the words of "We must all come together." And that's the title of this piece. So this piece from the past, with much extended portions, is a reminder to us all. And it matters not what colour or race you are. What matters is we set the example for the rest of the world to follow. Another blueprint, in essence, of how to work, play and communicate on a far more adult level than what has gone before or the now. But what is so difficult about coming together? Why has it been so difficult even within our own group? Because of old programs installed in us all. Low self-worth, inferiority complex, low confidence, and the singular pursuit of life, not the all. I said earlier, the important thing is to keep going and keep coming together. United we stand, divided we fell, and will continue falling unless people put all differences aside and work for the greater good, not personalities. And so here is a test for you all, like a check mark, to see where you are at within yourselves. Is there a person or people in the group you don't like? Ask yourself why. And then distance yourself from the situation and assess the interaction, not the person, and then come to a conclusion. And what you will find is the person you don't like, or worse, hate, is actually something inside of you that you don't like. All projections, dislikes and mistrusts you have towards others are in actuality just reflections of the self. Whether you like that fact or not, it is the truth. Now, I have often been told I trust people too much. And that's a fair reflection given some of the characters who have left the group after betraying me and indeed us. But self-mastery allows you to trust and love everyone. And that way I do not have to waste my energy wondering about person A, B or C. If I put trust in a person and that person messes up, do you A, blame yourself for trusting them, or B, recognise it was their mess up, not yours? Now, most will do A and blame themselves, and then reduce their trust factor considerably and waste more energy vilifying and questioning themselves. The answer is B, is the self-mastery, and so no energy is wasted upon that interaction. So why do we blame ourselves when trust or love is broken? Why take that burden on? Particularly when someone else is doing the wrong things. Now, we had a prime example last year. People telling me to not trust a certain person. And I was aware of the reasoning behind that and tried to help that person. Now, ultimately, that person went on to justify the mistrust of that person, and the person badly messed up and exposed themselves in an ugly sort of way. And then some people questioned why I would trust that person so much. The answer is, with self-mastery, you can. And if that person messes up, that then is on them, not me or you. Now, had that person been adult enough to own up to an error, that person may well still be in the group, as that person had many values. But the person chose not to due to shame and guilt. And then the next stage is forgiveness. Forgiveness, Thomas. But that person did this, that and the other. So what? I get that. But I ask you all one question. Have your lives all been so perfect? So the answer to that is no. Then why would you hold all others accountable to being so perfect then? Why do people get into arguments and then involve others who were not involved? How can they adjudicate an interaction when they were not involved in it? And essentially, you're asking them to support your own narrative. But that person you're asking was not there. And so the adjudication is based only upon assumption, not truth. And again, it's a waste of energy for the arguers and the person brought into it. The answer is, or the question is, why can't you settle issues yourself? Why do you have to prove your truth? You don't, because that's another waste of life force energy. Are you seeing a pattern now? A pattern in your life that you created? Endless drama, mistrust of others, abandonment issues, all are created within your own heads. Why? Because you're not operating from the heart. Because operating solely from the heart does not allow you to dance within those negative fields of interaction. And so it's a mind loop program of repeat ad nauseum. Why are we doing that to ourselves? There is no perfect in anything. Nobody ever was perfect. Perfection is an unattainable program that people seek out themselves. It's like the eternal treasure seeker, and is no different to the religious people waiting for a dead man to return and save 7 billion people. It's not happening. So why do we adopt these programs? Who decided you or anybody else had to be perfect? Who decided our judgment of others is based upon our own illusions of perfection? And guess what? That hasn't worked for us too well, has it? And so if you don't like someone, you don't like yourself. If you don't trust someone, you don't trust yourself. If you do not love all others, you do not love yourself. Have those programs served you to date? No? Then fix it. Cooperative, not comparative and competitive, mixed with caring and sharing, is the way forward for us all. Now, all the above I just wrote about is telling you one thing about you, and yet you will never consider it. You have just wasted days, weeks, months or years of your own life force energy on completely unnecessary things because you have not learned to develop the self enough. Endless hours of child-level bickering when agree to disagree is available to all and you just moved on. Now, one thing that is hardly ever considered in an argument is how the other person felt on that day. Maybe it was some personal event that caused the person to not be nice or have a niggly attitude. And do we in general consider that? No. Because everyone has to be perfect 100% of the time in the mode of operating. Yet no one is perfect. And so the division of us all increases, all of which helps the system of control itself. That's what they run on. And you do realise with these types of interactions, you've just given yourself two more labels. Judge and executioner. Doesn't sound so good, those labels, does it? Yet is that not what unfolds in our lives by discounting others after arguing over points of view? Arguments in groups, work settings, partners, siblings and family often start off something very small and escalate beyond all proportion. Why? Because people are not flexible enough. And then some people become emotional bullies of my way or the highway. My opinion only matters, only my truth matters. Those people are not adults. They act like mere children. And what is worse, we copy them. Yet where is the higher ground in that? Where is the care of thinking maybe that person needs help? And did you consider maybe that person was providing you a service by showing you a lesson? And is the point of view worth discarding that person from your life? Is them telling lies about you your problem or theirs? And have you considered the fact that the truth never needs to be defended or argued? Because with self-mastery, which is only operating from the heart, the truth, your truth, never has to defend itself. And this is what self-mastery brings you. You are not wasting all of that energy on what is basically a total waste of life force energy. Now, life and the system has seen us all divided on a collective and personal level. Has that worked for us or the system of control? I said recently, there's not a single organisation of theirs that operates for the benefit of the people. You know why? Because A, we never defined it. B, we never asked for it. C, we tolerate shit too much. And D, we are easily distracted. As an example, do you think the system would run a famine scenario in the white race countries? No chance, because they know it would not be tolerated enough to support it. And so they run them scenarios on the other races to create guilt and shame. And because they will tolerate those conditions more than the white race. But like slavery, which is considered a coloured race only exhibit, which is another illusion, because again, their people tolerated it, and again they passed guilt and shame onto the white race. Slavery was eradicated, they say, in the 18 and 1900s. It wasn't. It was just extended to the white race as well, so everyone felt they were equal. But how many people noticed the sleight of hand trick? And the problem with both scenarios is people tolerating poor lifestyles, not caring enough for each other, and people not coming together. So how do we solve that issue? The key to it all is people coming together. This is what they fear the most, and always have done. Now the rest of this piece, like I said, done a few years ago, tallies in nicely with Tuesday's show with some additions. And as a reminder of their fear, when the people in the past started to come together to build a city and became a community, this biblical chapter tells you what happened next. Genesis 11, part 6. And the Lord said, if they have begun to do this as one people, speaking the same language, then nothing they devise will be beyond them. Oops. 7. Come, let us go down, said the Lord. Us? I thought the Lord was singular. And then confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech. 8. So the Lord scattered them from there over the face of all of the earth, and they stopped building the city. Or this: the Lord will bring a nation from afar, from the ends of the earth, to swoop down upon you like an eagle, a nation whose language you will not understand. That chapter tells you how we overcome this alien scenario. And it is alien. Colour, race, gender, it matters not. All that matters is we come together. Now, most people will have misinterpreted those 3 parts of that Genesis script, which is understandable. But what this is saying is they will swoop with the phoenix, not with a country, as the people assume what that is what nation actually means. When the reference to a nation being a country was not introduced until 1864. Oops. A nation means race, tribe or species with a different language. And there is your ET disclosure right there in that sentence. But what happens when some people find out many of the ETs were actually them? A language you don't understand, it says, means it came from somewhere else, not Earth. That language was Latin, that rules law. Which religion is known as the religion of law? Judaism, which is connected to the Draco and subsequently the Anunnaki. And what this also tells you about this Lord that so many worship is, he was an evil, demonic and psychotic son of a dark mother. Now, the one thing that will be overlooked in the Bible is the Lord is always spelt in capital letters, which means the Lord is dead. And yet we are told they are immortal. Funny that. Scriptures, Bibles and fake emerald tablets done by Thoth to distort real knowledge, but hidden within the bullshittery are gems of truth, once you grasp the understanding. And those books and scriptures were not about us and our story, but them and their story. Those books, said to be all holy, are riddled with wrath, vengeance, bloodletting, incest, sacrificing, bodily fluids, and waste of all kinds. Not to mention bestiality. All done for ceremonies, deception, sorcery, magic, black magic, worshipping non-humans, bindings, plagues, demons, beheadings, denigrating women, dark sexual magic, word magic, all done in a veiled hidden cloak of deception and wrapped into programs that are said to be good for you. Yeah, right. Turn it in. And like religion, their version of spirituality is corrupted beyond repair and needs to be scrapped, and the true story told. The Bible is their story, not ours. And I know many people will not like that fact. But why are those words even mentioned in a so-called holy book? Does that make any sense? Does that sound like your version of holy? Well, does it? Of course not. But in our version of holy, holy means sacrifice. And that includes all those people who follow those books. And it's been a tough learning lesson that is littered with traps, spells, and misunderstandings. The key to it is intentions that you set, not the entity set who laid out the left-hand path of doom for you. You have to learn to chart your own path, and only you are responsible for that. Man fell, it said. No, we all fell into the pit of darkness. And only now some are seeing the shaft of light at the top of it and beginning to emerge out of it. It was an emergency, one word. Now it's 3 words: emerge and see. The climb out is and has been muddy, filthy, brutal and strenuous, but ultimately worthwhile as the animus within us takes hold and goes forward. Now, animus became known as a species of aliens in the cosmic genetics series, but the animus also became known as a river near the village that is learning to flow again. No more dams or damning of souls there now. But animus means rational soul, mind, life, mental powers, consciousness, sensibility, courage and desire. And we will require all of those qualities and more going forward. We are in the quickening period, it said. Now a few years has passed since this piece. Now do you see, and more importantly feel, the quickening? They set traps everywhere. They killed us in the sea after 7 years, but we were reborn and another trap was set. And as we emerged out of the sea onto the land, they put us in quicksand that left our heads in the sand. And like the song says, circle in the sand goes round and round. And yet we replace the next line of it where it says never ending love is what we've found. We replace that with never-ending fear and division. And it's about time we reversed all of that, don't you think? The key is now establishing ourselves on the land, not the quicksand or the maritime traps. Maritime is Mari, and again a reference to the Dark Mother. People at the time were complaining. It's all a bit depressing. Hearing the alt media, religion and spiritual practices are corrupted. And I get that to a degree. But from my perspective, I said it's enlightening. 4 years on, I suspect you all feel the same way. Why is it depressing? Because we are seeing the illusion of it all through the fog passed down to us from the mists of time or even the time river. But once you have passed through the fog and indeed the mist or cloak of time, it is the true path to real enlightenment, which comes from within. The dark have far more work to do on themselves than us, as they are way more out of balance than we are. And they brought it on themselves also via the misuse of free will. All about riding the waves as you bob forward, which is progression, and this is not linear line actions but vertical timeline events. On linear events, you are told to wait for things to happen. If you stand still on a linear path, you go backwards. In those terms, it can perhaps be deduced that the Wait Club was actually a spell cast. And some will say, well, what does it matter? Or it doesn't matter. Unaware they are more spell casts, as matter is a beam of light and all light matters. Some will say nothing is sacred anymore. Not on the external it isn't. It was all an illusion that you bought into. But what is sacred is you. Yes, you, for the hard of hearing. How are you going to help prepare and develop you and protect that what is sacred is the key? Will you go on then and work with and help others? It's an arduous process we face and faced, but we work with what we have. It's a challenge, maybe the biggest challenge you will ever face. But with attitudes of I'm possible instead of impossible, it is not insurmountable, as shown in the giant strides of progress we have already made. It requires fluidity, which is flexibility, and the fluidity is recognized by what is inside of you. Water. We are 70 to 80% water, and we can make our own oceans be angry and violent, or we can calm them like the rivers. Your water is streaming again inside of you. Those illusions you absorbed were for the purpose of creating dams inside of you, and dams restrict the flow of water. Water is the source of life, they say, and we are the only planet that has living water. Perhaps water is the source. And subsequently, you are the living embodiment of living water and the source spark within you. The fluid movement water that is within you is a river stream of thought, love and consciousness. Love, they say, it is a river. I say, let it flow. Final piece tonight. This next part of was intel at the time and contained within this piece back then. Now, technically, it is not relevant to the now or the piece of coming together, although new members will get much from it, and the message is all about us now coming together. There was an event called 11/11 at the time throughout the old media, and was about the dark forces opening up portals and letting in the armies to create havoc again. And at least 2 portals were opened, one in Russia and one in Switzerland, and this was to wreak maximum damage on the planet and turn the tide, there's that water again, back in their favour. And part of the problem, and this is the same with the 8/8 and that stupid gate they talk, Heaven's Gate or whatever other bollocks they talk about, it's the same thing. It's ritual, the same as October the 31st is their ritual, calling in their Eve. And people doing mass meditations have to realise you are being duped into opening these portals for them via certain chants and incantations within the meditation word magic ritual. And yes, it is a word magic ritual. Now, that situation was contained, and around 150 dead and 4,000 plus were quarantined, whereby they all died and returned to source. Now, for those fighting on that level, use a Faraday cage to contain them. No current-based energy can go in, and so they can't feed and subsequently die off in there. Now, the update to that is all portals are closed and have been for some time. Nobody in or out is allowed, despite claims to the contrary by some over-sensualizing alt media host. But the head and the ultimate in the dark magician world, known as the Destroyer, and his legion of armies has now been completely eliminated from all planes of existence. And we were aware of that event a week prior, but their minions confirmed the event did take place in the now and caused some high-profile peoples to now admit that they're not part of the Order of the Black Sun, and actually they were their enemies. That's why some are ready, more than ready, to step down. And what these people, and in some cases entities, don't get is, you were all played big time. The illusion was this group and that group were enemies, is the often repeated boogeyman and saviour program. And one day, and I think that day has arrived, they will all realise the dark played both and all sides. Create nasties, then create another set of nasties, call one the light and one the dark, one is the boogeyman and one is the saviour. No, you were both energy harvesting batteries. And like the mirror-created conflict called the Cold War, the US fought the SU, and the SU fought the US, all of which was total bullshittery. There was no separate US or SU, because SU is just US in the mirror. And so it was not the United States fighting the Soviet Union, it was us fighting us. And the dark wins off both sides. So now the Destroyer, who I believe goes by the name as Caringian, whose female counterpart was the Kali Ma and subsequently Lilith or the Eve, who all tribal people have been taught to worship of and subsequently sacrifice to her. The same entities who all the Hebrew, Buddhism and Hinduism people are worshipping, the witchcraft people and their goddesses, were all worshipping the Kali Ma and the Dark Mother Moon ritual-based entity. And that was siphoning vast quantities of life force energy off the people participating in it, but also those who came into contact with them, like a self-perpetuating virus. And I said at the time, this will now allow things to move on to the next stage. The key battles are being won and won heavily, and the end game moves closer again now. The universe that was once 87% dark is now heading close to the balance of 45-55 now. And when you understand the term "let us make man in our image" in terms of not creation but genetics and trait as an imitation of them in their image, then you begin to understand the bigger picture here of what unfolded. And at that point, maybe we can all come together. So summing up this piece as we move on to an important next phase. Are those petty arguments with others really acting in the best way? If not, fix it. If you don't like someone, it is a projection of yourself. If you hate someone, it's a projection of yourself. If you project or retort in an unbalanced way, it is a projection of yourself. Fix you and those issues go away. Tuesday's show put everyone on notice. Which path are you going to take? Who, me? You all cry. Yes, you, all of you. The ripple and frequency effect for that show goes much further than many will think. That whole show was supported in parts by the heirs themselves, and dare I say it, many important figures surrounding them. It will escalate certain things on this planet that is long-term beneficial, short-term unpleasant. The Mandela effects of differing memories of our world and their world will increase as the separation is escalating. The shedding of the skin is unfolding. From a line in the sand to a spiral in the sand, no longer hampered by the sands of time. The river of time is now controlled by what we do, not them. The Santis, written 40,000 years ago, told us how to be, act, love, trust and protect. And we neglected it all for fake alien programs. We were warned of the do's and don'ts and ignored all that as well, falling to the level of slaves to an inferior group of species. Well fucking done, humanity. Seriously. What an embarrassment that is. The crown of creation being run by lizards, spies and genetic miscreants. Seriously? Reduced to not being able to think for ourselves and only repeating their scripts, their vision of history, following their religions and saviour programs. Embarrassing. Illusion reigned, but reality awaits those who will be themselves, not just a copy of them like a Smith. We don't need one Neo, we need millions of Neos to counterbalance the Smiths. And 99% plus of people on this planet are Smiths. Whether you like that fact or not, just a copy of a copy. Get out of your limitation program and be and make a difference. What is your part or role in it? Please don't say, but I'm just one person and what can I do? Because that is a cop-out and part of the laziness of humanity the heirs warned about. And might I remind you, I'm just one person with a few school and college certificates, and look what I went on to achieve. And that is not a glorification of myself. That is a blueprint for us all, that we can all achieve so much more than what is perceived as the sum of our parts. Maximum focus is required now on everyone's part as the dance to true freedom gathers apace. The empire had to fall and a new foundation will take its place, ran on common sense, fairness, balance, trust and love. We are making big progress on every level. Recognise your own progress in the process is essential as well. Because if we progress individually, we make progress as a collective as well. And some deep pondering is required. Are you going to fight for love, not fear it? Are you going to embrace love, not fear it? Are you going to be love, not fear? Are you going to make love, not fight it due to fear? And all you have to do now is follow your heart and then come together. It cannot get any simpler than that. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams.